He told T'keisha to hold her weapon on the two kids and the in-law, and he held his weapon on Dawn. And he was like, tell me where my stuff is. And Dawn is like, I don't know. I really don't know. And she was scared and she was crying. Hi, No Limiters. Welcome back to my channel where you're educated, entertained, and inspired. So, today I'm going to be doing something new on my channel. So, I'm a lover of true crime. I love true crime. And I'll watch true crime like every day. And I'll do it like for hours. And so I thought, why not share it on my channel? And so I'm going to be doing some true crime videos every now and then. I mean, it won't take over the entire channel, but I'll be doing it every now and then. Alrighty? So, how far would you go for your man? Ladies, how far would you go for your man? Now, there are some ladies out there, some women, some girls, who will go very far for their man. Yes. Will go very far for their men. Yes. So, today we're going to be looking at 18-year-old T'keisha Gilmer. She will start my, should I say series? All right, series on true crime. All right. So we're going to be looking at 18-year-old T'keisha Gilmer, and she is from Houston, Texas. Now, when she was 16, T'keisha was kicked out of her mother's house. So at 16, T'keisha was kicked out of her mother's house and she was left wandering the streets. She would sleep wherever she could, sleep with whichever friend she could, whether it be male or female. She would sleep on their couch, on the floor, wherever. She was just wandering around. Now, one day she was out with some friends and a car drove up and there was this man in the car. He was 41-year-old Darrell Billard. Now, Darrell was an ex-Navy. He was a Navy veteran, and he wore a colostomy bag, right? He had been in a robbery at one point, and he was left wearing a colostomy bag. He was shot, right, and was left wearing a colostomy bag. So one day he approached T'keisha and he gave her a very good offer. He told T'keisha that she could come and live with him because he was collecting a disability fund, and she could come and live with him and cook his meals and, wash his clothes and clean his house and run his errands and all of that. And I mean, this offer was really, really good for T'keisha. I mean, she was living on the streets, and anything is better than living on the streets, right? And so she took up the offer. I mean, this man had a house, he had food, he had money, he had a car, he had a security that T'keisha never knew about. And so she jumped on the offer. And of course, she said, yes, I am going to. And she went to live with Darrell and to help him with his everyday activities. So, T'keisha was living with Darrell, and then, as you guessed it, they became romantically involved. She really loved him. I don't know if she really loved him, or it was the security that he gave. He gave her this sense of security, and so she really, really loved him. And after a few months, they found out that they were pregnant. Yes, T'keisha was going to have a baby. Now, they also realized that it was not going to work just living on disability funds. There was something else that they needed to do. And one day Darrell got a call. He got a call, and the call said that they wanted him to come and join in running some marijuana. And they were going to run marijuana from the southern parts of the United States to the eastern parts of the United States. And of course, he asked T'keisha if she would go along with him, and she said yes. Now, T'keisha was the perfect cover for running those 20 to 25 pounds of marijuana and being in a car with a pregnant woman. The police is not going to believe that this is something that a man would do, have his pregnant woman in a vehicle and running drugs. So T'keisha was the perfect cover. And so they were there doing their thing and making some money. And then at the age of 17, T'keisha gave birth to a baby boy. And then again, reality set in because Daryl was saying, I need more. I now have a son to take care of and I need to do more. And so Daryl called his brother and he asked his brother, who was also in the marijuana business, if there was anything that he could do for him. And his brother said, yes, I'm going to hook you up with your sister-in-law. She is doing big things down in Maryland. And if you take a whole lot of marijuana to her, then she'll be able to help you to get it sold out on the streets. You know, she can push you out on the streets with it and you can make a whole lot of money. And of course, Daryl was ready to do this. And again, he asked T'keisha, is this something that you would do with me? And of course, T'keisha said yes. And so they left the baby with Daryl's mother and they took the long trip all the way from Texas to Maryland. So Daryl and T'keisha went the 1,500 miles to Maryland and they had 60 pounds of marijuana. The plan was to meet up with the lady, the sister-in-law, whose name was Dawn, and she was going to help them to get to get the marijuana out on the streets. And they went to Maryland, they checked into a motel, and then they went and they linked with Dawn. Now, Dawn had 2 kids. She had a 3-year-old daughter, and she had, I think it was a 7 or 5-year-old son. So, yes. And she left them with her in-law, and they went out on the streets to get the marijuana out. Before Daryl left, he took some of the marijuana with him and he left the rest of the marijuana in the bathroom upstairs. And they went out on the streets. Right? Now, again, think about T'keisha just having a young baby and standing by her man because by any means possible, food have to eat. Right? By any means possible. So, T'keisha, Daryl, and Dawn, they went out on the streets of Maryland to get some of the marijuana and to get some of the marijuana out there, to sell it. And they really did well. They did pretty well. And Dawn's sister-in-law, she was staying with Dawn's 2 kids. Now, when they came back, they met Dawn's sister-in-law outside who was very frantic, and she was saying that 2 men came in and they came in with mask and gun and they went inside the house and there was nothing she could do. And I mean, right away, Daryl rushed upstairs and he rushed upstairs. He went into the bathroom and the bag was nowhere to be found. The bag of marijuana was nowhere to be found. Now, Daryl is responsible for this 60 pounds of dope. Weed. Yes, weed. He's responsible for the 60 pounds. And he has to pay back some money to the person who gave him this to sell. And so he was in trouble. So Daryl, unbeknownst to T'keisha, had two weapons in his trunk. And he went out and he got them. He gave one to T'keisha and he took the other one. And he demanded that the 2 ladies and the 2 children go upstairs. And he was frantic. He was upset. He was furious. And so he made a call to his dealer and he said to his dealer, this is what has happened. We went on the road to sell some of the thing. We came back and can't find the others. And I heard that 2 men came into the house and the dealer said that somebody has to pay for it. Somebody has to pay. Make them pay. It's either they give it to you or make them pay. And so Daryl was there. He told T'keisha to hold her weapon on the 2 kids and the in-law, and he held his weapon on Dawn. And he was like, tell me where my stuff is. And Dawn is like, I don't know. I really don't know. And she was scared and she was crying and he was just frantic. And he wanted her to see that he was serious. And so he shot her in the leg. And she screamed and he was like, tell me who took my stuff. And she insisted that she didn't know. She didn't know. And the two kids were there and they were crying. And the sister-in-law was there and she was scared. And then Darrell, he took a cushion from the couch. He held it in front of the sister-in-law stomach and he fired. And she fell back on the floor. And the two kids were there crying and crying and crying. And Dawn was saying, I don't know. I really don't. If I knew, I would say something. Now, remember that Dawn is Darrell's sister-in-law. It means that her kids, one is his niece and one is his nephew. And the little boy was hanging on to his little sister, hugging her, tried to protect her. And he took the little girl and he shot her. And then he took the little boy and he did the same. And the little boy fell on top of his sister. And T'keisha was just there standing. T'keisha was just there standing. I am sure maybe she was scared. I don't know. I can't say, because at this point, the man that you love is now doing this. You know, maybe she was scared to say anything, but she didn't say anything. And then one more time, Darrell asked Dawn to tell him where his stuff was. And she again cried, I don't know. And he offed her. Just like that. 4 persons were gone. Just like that. And then they got some garbage bags and they cleaned up the place and they wiped down the place to make sure that their fingerprints weren't left anywhere. And then they went back to their motels and they threw the garbage bag in a bin behind the motel, and they had a shower and they went to sleep. They went to sleep like, oh, we're tired. You know, it was a hard day at work today. So they went to sleep. When T'keisha woke up in the night, she found out that Darrell was not there. Darrell had gone back to the house to make sure that everything was clean up and that they could not link him to anything. But as he drove in, as he got out of his vehicle and was going to the door, he saw a car driving in, and it was Dawn's sister-in-law's husband, Dawn's brother. And he was frantic. He couldn't find his wife. He was calling and he couldn't get to her. And so he wanted to know, what's up, why he was calling and couldn't get her. And it was very, very late and she wasn't home. And Darrell said that he dropped them off a couple hours ago and he was just checking in with them now because he himself couldn't get them. And when the man went upstairs, you can imagine what he saw. You can imagine what he saw. He saw them all on the floor. Dead. Dead. Of course, he called the police, and Darrell, wanting to seem as if he had nothing to do with it, he stuck around. And so the police took him and the man, the husband, in for questioning. And while questioning him, there was something that they really found funny. He told them the truth, that he was there to sell some weed with his baby mother, and that they had drop off the Dawn and the kids, and they had gone back to their motel and he couldn't get them, so he had just come back now to check on them. And they didn't believe him. For some reason, they found his story not, it never ring true to them. And so they told him, all right, they were going to keep him in custody and they were going to go to the motel and get his baby mother. When they got to the motel, T'keisha was gone. She left and she went to Darrell's other brother. He didn't want anything to do with it, so he told her, go down the road, go get a bus, and go back to Texas. So she went down to jump on a Greyhound. The police, they were just trying to get in touch with anybody that they could. And so, of course, they went to Darrell's brother's house. And he told them that he had just sent T'keisha to go get a bus. And they went down to the bus station and they found her. And they took her into custody. And she told the truth. She said what had happened. She said it was like she was in a dream and she really couldn't believe that this was something that was happening. But she stood there and she watched it. And she did nothing. And then she went to the motel to sleep without calling the police, without doing anything. They took 4 lives for 60, well, less than 60 because they had sold some already, for some dope weed. And the 2 innocent kids, his niece and his nephew, died for nothing. For nothing. Daryl and T'keisha, they both got life in prison for what they did. T'keisha, of course, she testified against Daryl, but that was too late now, right? Because the damage was already done. And so, at 18, she was sentenced to life in prison, all because of wanting to support her man. And that's how far T'keisha Gilmer went to show her man that she was willing to stand beside him and she was willing to do whatever it takes to prove her love and loyalty. Again, how far would you go for your man? Thank you so much for watching. And please join me again next time when I have another interesting true crime story for you. Until next time, bye.
She draw closer to me and said to me, yeah, wish this night was forever.